guys, this is Alex from First Figures.
Hey there everyone, this is Chuckles.
Who do we have here? Spyro the Dragon's
Crystal
Dragon! Hey! So, Chucks, we've been working on this just under a year, I would say. Just under a year, because of course we debuted the actual sculpt of this back in October in New York Comic Con. But of course the process and actually working on him started a little bit before that. It was actually around about the time when we actually launched our original Spyro the Dragon, you know, obviously the purple OG, right? So
first dragon in the Spyro the Dragon line.
That's right, right. And we found out quite quickly afterwards, and we'll go into a little bit more about the sort of reasoning and the selection behind him, quite soon after we had launched that original Spyro the Dragon. So that was quite interesting sort of process and how we actually got here. But before we go into that, Jocks, should we explain a little bit about what these kind of videos are, Jocks?
Alright, cool. Alright guys, so this is the making of documentary. It's a video that we normally do every time we do a product launch. And in this video we will highlight all the makings, the processes, what Alex was saying, some of the shout outs, etc, etc. And to participate in these videos, all you have to do is just join our official official collectors club on Facebook. And in there, just before we do a launch, I'll make a post in the club asking you guys what questions you want to put towards us, and Alex and I will answer some of the questions in there for you.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So do we have some questions today, Chucks?
Yes, let's start off with a Ashley Lang. Did you ever think that this would be the next statue in the line for Spyro?
So again, what I just sort of started off with talking about was the whole idea that we were quite surprised that we're actually working on him. And this really is a community feedback. And if you wouldn't mind, Chucks, would you read the next question as well? I think it's
before we move on to that, should we give this a spin whilst we start?
That's a great idea, and I'm pushing blue tack there.
We've moved on to the next level. It's all remote control now, Alex.
Boom! I forgot. Alright, sweet.
Awesome. Right guys, take a look at this 360 turn.
Yeah, it looks good.
Alright then, next question from Denise Kipp. What input from the official Collector Club members was put into creating this statue as it is now? And was this statue even on your radar?
So I really wanted to combine these two questions together. I think they cover a lot of similar points. And originally I had no idea that the Crystal Dragon was going to be the second in the line, or that we would even be making it at all. And that's quite interesting because it's really come from the fact that we've been working on Spyro the Dragon, and when we released Spyro the Dragon, as you know, Chucks, the community in the Facebook Collectors Club is really great at giving their feedback and opinions on what we should be making next and what other products people would like to see from the line. So when we announced Spyro the Dragon, we had a lot of new members join the club, and it was quite good to be able to then ask them, hey, would you guys be interested in this, and this? So some of the questions would be, would you be interested in Ripto? Would you be interested in Sparks? Would you be interested in, you know, I don't know, whatever it may be, money bags, egg thief, whatever it may be? And we polled this, and actually the most popular piece was a Crystal Dragon. People were saying, hey, we want to have the Crystal Dragon, we want the Crystal Dragon. And you know, Chuck, we're very accommodating, we tried our best. We always try our best to listen to what the fans want, and the Spyro fans really wanted to have these Crystal Dragons, at least that's what the polling sort of said. So when we go in and get a license, typically we look at whether or not there's a range of different properties, or so different characters that we may do from that line. And with Spyro, we were a little bit concerned that it might people only might want Spyro only. So we were really happy to see that actually there was more than that. And of course, here we are with the Crystal Dragon itself. And this really came about from that. Really came about that. If that hadn't polled well, we wouldn't be sitting here like this. So we talked about when did we start creating this? Well, the answer is, well, after we went live with Spyro, that was in July of last year, 2017. That's when we asked people, hey, what else do you want to see? And again, so whilst they would have come back and said this is what they want to see, that's the first thing was really on our radar. So Denise is asking when it was on our radar. The answer is it was never on the radar until people showed us that it should be on our radar. Then in terms of would it be the next in the Spyro line, hey, you know, to be honest with you, I would have thought it would have been something like Nasty Knock or maybe even Ripto or something like that. Would have been the next in the line, but ultimately we felt that this was probably the stronger one, and that was based on the community feedback. So when they said, so when Denise also asked what input from the OCC was put into creating the statue as it is now, well, there was definitely been input from the community when it came to actually making the statue, and then we'll go through that in the development process. But in terms of the actual input that they had in actually the selection, 100% is the answer. 100% was absolutely all about the input from the fans. So for sure.
Yep. All right, cool. All right, next question from Brandon Rostello. How did you decide on the final size?
So when we knew that we were actually going to be making him, the Crystal Dragons, we knew that we were going to really have to deal with the elephant in the room. And the fact is, the actual size of Spyro versus the Crystal Dragon in the game is tantamount to a huge difference, is the answer. And the reality is, it wasn't going to be very practical to keep it to scale. So we wanted to consider that the Spyro Dragons are significantly bigger in the game, and therefore make it bigger than Spyro, but not make it to the point where it's actually it became quite cost prohibitive for people to actually collect it. There's no point in making something amazing and to scale if no one can actually have it in their collection. Not only to do with the cost, but even to do with the size of the collections. You know, Chogs?
Yeah.
So, we're seeing that statues are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and a lot of people are sort of having a reaction to that and it's something that we've always sort of been keeping our eyes on as well. So, you know, definitely we wanted to keep it more into a more manageable size, Chocks, and it really actually had a lot of influence with the club, because, you know, again, Denise asked what input do we have from the OCC into creating the statue. Again, 100% for selection, but they also had quite a lot of influence in the actual sizing as well.
Yeah.
So when Brendan is asking the actual size, well, the OCC came back, we gave them some size references. Hey, this size versus that size. I think I gave a couple of options, and whilst considering those sizes and considering the actual final price, we ultimately went with this one. And I think, Chogs, we went with the right decision. It is a beautiful size. It's got a lovely, lovely presence to it. And when you see it next to, we'll be doing some comparison shots, of course, with the OG Spyro. You'll be able to see them next to each other. They look really, really good. I mean, of course, Spyro, in comparison to the game, is bigger in relation to the Crystal Dragon, but of course, when you see them together, the Spyro Dragon is much smaller than the Crystal Dragon itself, but maybe just to do with the wingspan and all that sort of size. And they look really great next to each other.
Alright, cool. Next question from Brenton Freedley. How many different green colours do you go through trying to get the right look?
Okay, so what I wanted to say about that is, Chocks, why don't we use this question as a way to sort of talk a little bit more about the sculpt, the design, and how we actually got here. Brenton asked how many different green colours did we go through, and the answer is a lot.
Yes.
Now, I want to start with a couple of things. People having the perception that it is a easy piece versus a not easy piece, and I wanted to sort of really talk about that a little bit more. And the reality is, we knew what we needed to do. There was no sculpt concern about the pose. We knew what we had to do was take what was in the game and boom, make it into the physical version itself. And that was all we had to do. So there was no concept about, hey, should the anatomy be like this, should be like that. In that respect, super, super easy peasy lemon squeezy. But that's not actually that easy, in the sense that, yes, we knew what we had to go for. We knew very, very quickly, early on, exactly what we had to do. That's not the problem. The actual sculpting of it wasn't that easy. We had to really consider each plane and how it represented, because we're working off of really low resolution artwork. Well, not even artwork, I should say. We're talking about, I can't begin to tell you how my eyes have deteriorated and the increase of my glasses have had as a result of staring at those low pixelated videos on YouTube in order to really kind of see the shaping of it. But ultimately we got there. I'm really, really happy how it came out. But we really had to consider the plane on the head, the sides, the cheeks, the chin, the body itself, how the feet stand, the way that the tail connects into it. All these different things we really, really had to consider. And even if you look at, for example, at this area here, right? You could have just made this one level, but actually we had multiple planes. And you can find that there are tons of different planes in there that we could have simplified it even more. But we actually wanted to, and we could have cheated quite a lot actually as well, have it given a little bit of roundness just to sort of give that shape to it. But we wanted to really give it that polygonal feel, which is what it is in the game. And that's, not only is it, I think it was a really great example at the time of the limitation of the actual game itself, but also considering the fact that this is supposed to be a crystal dragon, it's supposed to have those shapes, those planes, those shapes, kind of like cut crystal, if that makes sense. And that's really what we were going for, and that's sort of what we managed to achieve. And again, it's all about this almost like a paper craft, a kind of origami kind of style, except for, of course, this time it's in a resin PU sort of material. So, you know, in terms of actually sculpting, it was challenging. But of course, once you could get the shape right, what was sort of easy about it, of course, is that at least from here to here, Chocks, and tuning the legs, all of it is mirrored. So if you get it right on one side, if you get it right, if we're going to ignore the tail here, if you get it right on one side, it's exactly the same on the other side. So that was quite easy in that respect. But of course, in order to make sense, of course, you could have actually wanted to continue it. The tail would have just gone straight backwards, it would have been super easy. But of course, it curls round, and it curls round just like in the game as well. And it's got some length to that tail, Chuck. So you see how far it comes down?
Yeah.
All the way down to here. The tail snakes around, and boom. And again, it's not snaking in a kind of curved way. It's very, you know, cut in that sort of style. So yeah, what do you think about that, Jocks?
Oh yeah, I mean definitely. I mean it's exactly what we're trying to achieve from the get-go. Kind of give it that jagged feel, that low poly feel. I mean, less is more, right? So again, it's that simple shape, but this is one of those pieces where you have to really look close to it to see the different paint hits. And you know, like I always recommend guys that, you know, with statues, handle with care. You know, try not to touch it as much. But this one, you know, I would definitely recommend guys to actually touch it, feel it. You can see the different ups and downs of these polygonal shapes. Some go inwards, some go outwards. And yeah, it's one of those statues where you can I would actually recommend folks to actually feel it.
Yeah, so we'll go into a little bit of that as well, but you know, in terms of feeling it, I know you like to touch your statues now, Chocks, but
yes.
you let it loose, you let it out. What you do in the privacy of your own home, mate, you know.
This is the statue to touch.
Well, if you actually touch it from a point of view, actually feeling the shapes and the angles of it, you're absolutely
sure.
right. Because sometimes
the wings, it goes in and out. I mean,
right.
It's sometimes if you look at it flat, straight on from the side, it gives off this very depth, like an illusion. Like, is this actually inwards or outwards?
Yeah, and you almost have to touch it to find it out.
Yeah,
that's right. And it's like those YouTube videos of how to make all those makeups that I don't watch. That sort of like having contours of noses that never existed.
Yeah. Just by adding a bit of shading.
Yeah, right.
Just to give it some extra depth. And it has that kind of effect right here, right, the spot there.
Right.
That sticks out for me anyway, as I look at it from the side.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, that's the sculpt work, Chocks, of the actual dragon itself, and then let's talk a little bit about that paint work. We kind of briefly talked about it, but you're absolutely right that this is full of subtle paints on this. Now, people will look at this and go, "Oh yeah, it's a green." Now, Brenton asked, "How many different color greens did you go through?" So let's talk about what we originally did. When we first made it, Chocks, boom, all green done, and we looked at it and we went. Yeah, you know, it looked pretty rubbish. And we went, alright, all green with some shading. And you know what, Chocks? It still looked really rubbish. And hopefully what I'm gonna do is do some overlays around about now, where we can sort of see how it looked originally, with just the green, the solid green look to it, and it did not look very good. When we conceptualized this, we thought, hey, you know what, this is gonna be pretty easy to make, it's gonna be straightforward, the paint job's gonna be easy. We were so wrong in that respect. I can't begin to tell you just how many paint hits there are in this. Yes, you might look at it and go, oh, it's green, but it's not just green. There are so many different shades of green in here that it really is a complicated paint job. It is a really complicated paint job. Now, this is not needlessly, aimlessly painting it green and different green shades. Now, Chocks, let's go through the different colors of the green. Because what I want, when we go through this and you listen to when we talk about the different shades in there, it's not just the different shades of green, it's the placements of the shades of the green. We'll go through that a little bit later on, but let's talk about the actual different greens there are, Chocks. So what color greens can you actually see? So let's start with the different shades. Now, you can start with wherever and say what kind of green that is. And
Alright, straight away for the bright ones. Let's go for the bright ones.
Alright, let's go for the bright ones.
Green, right at the edge.
So what you're seeing is the greening of the actual internal, we'll call it the webbing of the skin of the wing. So if you look at the wing itself, this over here, if you consider it to be a real dragon, this would almost be like the bone area, right? And this is the kind of webbing area, do you know what I mean? In terms of the, the skin between the wings. So the skin between the wings, that webbing area is in this lighter green, but it's not just one solid green, is it, Charles?
No. There's actually, if it's very subtle, don't know if you can catch off the light, there's a line that goes along
there. There you go.
And there you can see this kind of like very faint whitish highlight.
And it goes along that crease. And that's because, again, touching the statue now, you can feel there is a very, very subtle, sort of tiny subtle, maybe you can...
It's like folding a paper airplane, right? If you
very subtle along.
The harder you fold a paper plane, the
going along here, right?
The obvious the creasing. So
yeah. I mean, you can definitely see the crease, but do you actually feel that semi goes in, it kind of comes out on this side, or you can feel it more coming out on this side.
The other side.
And this, it goes in a bit more, so it has that on the. Can you sort of see? Maybe you can see it.
It's more obvious if you look at it from either way.
There. You can see it going along that. Yeah. So you just said it starts with a lighter green, and then you have the line going across there.
And as it goes towards the, let's call it the bone, right? The edge. As it goes towards the edge of the bone, it gets darker and darker, and then you have kind of the, what do you call it? A kind of a very faint black wash that goes underneath the bone itself, going into a much darker green around the edge of the bone. And that's just kind of the base layer. Because if you look at it really closely, you can actually see specks.
But going upon that, if you go along that edge along the top, we talked about the shading, Charles. There's tons of shading that goes across the middle of it there. Yeah. And then, what I'm showing on the screen here, you can actually see on the other side.
I'm looking at the screen where you're pointing, so I can see from my side as well.
Yeah, so along there is that darkness of that sort of darkness, and then directly underneath it is that original lighter green again.
Yeah.
So we have lighter green, whitish line, lighter green going across the white green going across that line along here. Then the darker line going along this plane over here. So this plane is now sorted, and directly underneath it, directly below that black wash, it's kind of like a sort of darkening shadow there, is the original lighter green of this part here. And it looks lighter because it's, so the point I'm trying to say is, we had to mask that off to apply the black wash across there. If you look at, maybe you can see it also on this side as well, so we're turning here. That black wash over there is spray painted on, and what you do is you do it by covering and masking this area here, the lower part, in order to maintain that original light green, and then apply that darkness across there. And do you know what that means, Shocks? We apply that logic, and it looks so much better than what we originally came up with. We had to apply that logic all over. The whole idea of having subtle shades of darkness followed by masking it off and having the original color of the green underneath it is full of that. it's full of this green, a shading green and a highlighting green, but done in a way, in a location that's masking it off as per plane. And so actually, do you know what? I'm going to actually make a bold statement and say it's actually harder to do this style than it is to do something like the Spyro. And I'll tell you why, Charles. Because you've got to mask off each plane, and it's got to match up with the shape of the actual, shape of the sculpt itself. Yeah. There's no tolerance.
It's the actual shading that gives off that extra depth. Because
there you go.
Because some of the shading, sure, it blends in. For example, some of the green blends in with some of the darker shadings, but for each ridge or each crease, you want to call it.
Yeah.
Every single one of them is masked off. You can tell because there's some shading, kind of like spray paint, right?
Right.
And then it goes into a straight, clean line.
Exactly.
And like some of the other statues we have, you usually just paint on the line to differentiate.
So, as I said, I'm going to actually make a statement that this is actually harder than Spyro to paint, and I'll tell you because the sculpt is the sculpt, and if you deviate from the sculpt and the clean line doesn't actually, it's not on the edge, and it kind of comes over it, you'll see instantly. Whereas when you have something organic, you have that more kind of, how should I say it, more tolerance level to be able to go
folding
over
origami paper.
It is like origami paper.
You fold the wrong line and you try to fold it again,
right?
You get that like misaligned.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So this is actually tougher to make, and that might blow a lot of people's minds. That this is actually harder to make than Spyro. Now, of course, you can't just say because it's all green. Now, what happens if, for example, it doesn't make a difference what the color of the green? It could be, green, pink, red, and green. It doesn't matter what it is, right? It's the idea of having to mask off individual areas on the thing to give it that kind of depth to the actual sculpt. So, if you take that into consideration, Charles, can you see that concept being used anywhere else on the body? I mean, spoiler alert, I said it was all over, but why don't you take some examples, some specific planes on the body and bring some attention to it?
Well, the whole masking thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, exactly back of the body.
I mean, look, for example here, Charles, what do you see between the top, I'm talking about this area. So let's look between this area, this surface and the lower part.
Yeah, I mean, for example, right exactly along the neck. You're talking about these white highlights. Right? These are totally different to the dark shades, but it's kind of
from a distance it looks the same. But when you look at it closely, it's the effect of having the kind of artificial shading and shadowing in there that's coming from the use of using the mask and using those really, really perfect lines of different planes having different colors to give that effect. So as you can see at the top, you have that really light color there, followed by almost like a darker green underneath. But it makes sense because it's the shadow is being casted on the under it.
That's why the darker side is more black wash.
Exactly right. And therefore, again, if you look at the tips of the feet, this area here is slightly lighter in color compared to the back area over here, which has a darker effect on it. On the underside. On the underside versus the bits on the top. And if you look at these planes over here as well,
around the shoulders.
Yeah, exactly, around the shoulders. It's where the direct light is hitting it, and you can really sort of see that. And if you look at the groove on this, if you look at this ridge here, and you compare it to that ridge there, so that plane and this plane are different in colors. That has that kind of whitey look to it, and the darker and the shadowing over here. That's a lot of that is what we're talking about. Now, once we knew what this effect was going to be like, we knew that certain areas had to have certain kind of emphasis of green. Of course, we talked about the webbing being a kind of lighter green. You can see that effect in the cheeks. Can you see that, Charles?
Yeah.
And it's not just a solid color; it has different effects in that as well. And where else do you see that light color green?
Well, the back of white.
There you go.
The mane, is it?
There you go, the mane. That's right. So you can see it has a lovely three-part green. You have the light green here that you see here, and you see on the cheek. You have these the kind of skin or the kind of bone area of the wing and the body. All of it blends together and really, really makes a difference. As again, you would have seen that overlay and you will really see that the difference between this and that really is night and day. And we went through maybe at least two or three before we got to here. We went through this many times. First of all, we did it, the first way we did it, we went all green, and it was a bit dark. And we go, it doesn't look very good. What's the reason? And then it was like, oh, well, maybe it's the green color. So we did it all over again and made it lighter green, but we went, nah, we still can't we can't cut corners, it doesn't look good. And ultimately that's why we came up over here and we finally managed to get that, like that. So yeah, Chocks, that is more of an idea of the paint work itself. Now, Chocks, do you want to talk a little bit about that the feeling of it?
Yeah, right, the best bit. Guys, really, like, first time I'm touching this, and usually, I collect a lot of statues and all that, but like usually when you touch the statue, for example, it's very smooth or very matte. It's kind of that kind of surface, but this one, when you touch it, I was quite surprised. I thought, was this made out of, real stone? But this was all done by painting. It has this kind of a rough texture, not quite sandpaper type, but literally like.
But quite different, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels like concrete. That's what I'm saying. Was it actually made with proper stone? But no, the painter that did this made an excellent job.
Nice.
Yes. Very, very. It's definitely one of those statues where you have to like touch it and think, what material was this made out of?
I'll just stop that so you can touch it at your,
Yeah, and talking about shading, I mean, one of the obvious here is the shading is darker at the bottom of the tail, and it's more lighter at the top of the tail, with the difference between the darker shades of green and the white highlights on the top.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this is one of those statues that actually feels good as well as looking good.
So, Chocks, let's talk a little bit about that base.
The base, wow, massive. It's massive.
That is all on the game. Can't blame me, Chocks.
Right, exactly. Yes, I mean the dragon needs to be sitting on top of the pedestal. As you guys know, to play the game, Spyro needs to come along and touch the pedestal.
There you go.
To release the dragon. Exactly, and it's exactly an in-game replica of what you see in the game. So basically, you get the pattern that's on top of the surface, and you get the same kind of a shading, that's kind of stone effect at the bottom of the base.
Now we went through a few times. We actually forgot about this edging when we first painted it. We had to re-add this edging around there just to be a bit more, what's the word? Authentic to the actual game. And can we just focus some eyes on that actual surface? The top of it around this edge here. I'm not talking about the pattern. We'll talk about the pattern a little bit later on. But this area going around the edge has got this beautiful white again, Chocks. Again, it's not one color. A lot of people are looking at this, oh, it's one color. No, it's not one color at all. Beautiful, beautiful dotted effect with whites going around the edges and the creases that are highlighted at the actual each sort of point, shall I say, each corner. Going down, so you have this surface, top part surface is a little bit lighter than the edges, and the edges are darker. Again, we have to highlight the fact that these are planes that we must have as a different effect than the top plane in order to give that effect of the darkness of the sides and the lightness on the top. So, can you see that, Chocks? The difference between the top and the sides. Look how much darker it is on the sides in comparison, and the dotted, almost mottled effect of the actual base itself. On the sides, it's much darker along the grooves in the middle. You see that, Chocks? And then it gets much darker at the bottom as well. But obviously you can still see it's the sort of same color going across, but it has a much darker shading going down to the bottom that then leads and blends nicely into this grey edge over there.
Yeah, it's greyish purple stripe that goes around it.
Again, that's directly from the game itself. Team accuracy.
Took a while to find to look at the making sure the pattern follows in through, because if this was a grey base, a black base, it just doesn't look right. It has to go with matches with the crystal dragon.
Right. So that's definitely something that we wanted to take a look at, and
I'm glad the painting does the same effect.
Here's a question, Jock. So we
What?
put the crystal dragon on the base incorrectly.
Why?
Like, we can just, should be like, maybe like that.
Well, we don't know.
Do we not?
No. Does it stand on the stars itself? Does it stand behind the dots, or does it stand between the stars?
Oh, right, yeah, I see.
Or does it stand based between here?
Yeah, we need to look into that, and we will make sure we get that right. I believe the actual, this is probably...
Well, the guys,
reasonable
when they
response
put it on, they can place it wherever they want.
Well, yeah, they can place it that way around, but I just want to be just making sure that we just make sure on that as well later on. Yeah, for sure. All right, cool. So this is the this top surface part again was quite challenging for us to actually get that from the references in the actual game itself, but we managed to get this beautiful effect on there, and it looks really, really great. It really complements the entire piece itself to have that pattern and that design on the top and being represented like that. And you know, overall, Chocks, I'm really happy with the accuracy that it came out of it.
I had a lot of fun doing some of the research for it, like, you know, making sure, you know, saying the whole reason why crystal dragons were there in the first place, you know, like, you know, the whole backstory is quite fun. And, you know, like, if you play the game, you know that you're bound to come across one of these crystal dragons in the game, either as a save point, or you're trying to rescue all 80 dragons, I believe, maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's definitely a crucial part of the game.
Yes. Now, last but not least, Chocks, obviously those horns. Love me a bit of that gold.
Well, it sticks out. I mean, back in the day on the PlayStation, everything's very polygonal, and to have those gold horns, I think it's probably, you know, a good design choice to have that distinct feature.
Yeah.
So it does look like a dragon rather than kind of like, you know, without the horns, it looks like a horse kind of thing. Right?
I would have said Komodo dragon, but fair enough. But no, definitely the horns are having them in a different color, and of course, again, this is it's what's the word, separated in a way that maybe you slightly can see it from the back. It's probably going to be hard to sort of catch up on that, but it's going to be hard to see. But yeah, you can really see that we have to do the shape of the horn in accordance with the sculpt. It has to go all the way to the edge, all the way down. Can we slightly? Probably not. I can't see that, but has to follow the sculpt, and of course that really means that you don't have the ability just to, like, you know, just to paint it really quickly. It has to be perfectly separated, perfectly lined between the between the gold and the green of the head, the gold of the horn and the green of the head. So again, Chocks, it's not easy, and we really had to. This is actually a really complicated paint job. It's not just green. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, it's going to be easy. It's just the green. It's just green. No, that's really not the case. That's really not the case. Cool. I wanted to also sort of say another couple of things. One of the difficulties in this piece itself is we're using a material that, and there's some things. This is the prototype, Chocks. The things that we need to work on. The final piece, for example. If we take a look at this wing right now, this is currently, it's really heavy, the wing itself, and as a result, it kind of sits back a little bit like that in this prototype.
Right.
We need to make sure that when it comes time to production, that we have some sort of, maybe some magnets or something in there that keeps it in a way that keeps it. We will address that in the actual production to make sure it maintains it in that and slots it in well. And you know, also try to work as much as we can on the obvious sort of seams that we have over here. That's one of the challenges about this piece, Chocks. Actually, when you come to making resin pieces like this, resin quite easily warps and deforms, and we're having to use a PU type material that actually is better for this. But the problem with that, of course, is the molds can't be reused very often. Normally, you could probably get 50 to 75 per mold, maybe more on a typical thing, where slight differences and slight variations and slight rounding of the, let's say, of the spikes is okay on an organic piece, but for this crystal dragon, that's not okay. So actually the use of each mold is dramatically reduced, meaning that it increases the cost because we have to keep remaking the molds from the original sample, from the original mold master, tooling master. And that all quickly adds up. And so this is actually a challenging piece to make. A lot of people incorrectly think, oh yeah, it's super easy. It really isn't. There are lots of, and it's polygonal, therefore it's easier. It really isn't. The only easy aspect of this project, Shocks, was the fact that we didn't have to think about what it had to look like. We knew we had the goal at the beginning. It needed to look like it came from the game. Simple as that. What we didn't know, of course, was, as in that was the only easy thing. Everything else has been challenging. And, that's where we're at, Shocks. That's where we're at.
Next question from Devin Wenstrom to both Alex and Chucks. What do you think the Crystal Dragon's best feature is?
For me, it's definitely the paintwork. The fact that we struggled so hard on getting that right, and where we are now, really happy with that. Really, really happy with that. And that's definitely, for me, one of the best features. But I have no doubt I know exactly what's going to come out of your mouth, Jocks. What's your best feature of this?
Kind of part of the paintwork as well, because without this lovely paintwork, there won't be that texture feeling.
Mm-hmm.
The whole kind of stone feeling texture.
Yeah.
Basically, that would be the highlight for me. Definitely, it's hard to capture that on film, but to have this in hand and actually, just touching it right now still.
See what I mean?
Amazes me.
As I said, Chucks, what you do in the privacy of your own home.
Right, next question from Sarah Blakey. If you break it, does it unleash a dragon?
All I can say is, if you have to hit up CS, we'll find out. But that would be really cool, wouldn't it, Chucks? I've almost broken it a couple of times in frustration trying to get that paint job right, but I never had to actually.
Well, if you break it, that means you've released the dragon, right?
Well,
you break, you've saved.
There you go.
Saved the dragon.
That's it. So far there hasn't been, but we're looking forward to seeing if anybody does manage to have a dragon.
Just be careful when you touch it. Yeah, don't break it. Handle with care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Boom. All right, Josh.
Measurements.
All right. So I'm going to slightly budge that to the side.
All right.
Just like that, Chucks, if you wouldn't mind. That's about right.
Can test.
Absolutely. Now this are 3 30 ml cans. So if you are a part of our North American family, you are used to 355, I believe, cans. And we, over here, everyone else is using 330. Bada bing, bada boom.
How many cans?
That is the grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it just is under 5. Literally just under 5. The angle of it, this brings it up to just about there. Yep. It looks like it's like the leaning tower of cans. But yeah, just around about 5 cans of 330 ml cans tall. Over to you, Chucks.
Alright, next question.
No, not next question.
Is there no
Your measurements.
My measurements?
Yes.
I see 2 measurements here. Right, guys.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Indeed.
Alright, measurements. Okay, get your pen and paper ready, guys. This is going to be a little bit more more detailed. Right, the height of the dragon. The height of the dragon.
On its own?
No, actually, from the base.
Yeah, right, I was going to say.
Yes. From the base, I have that roughly around about 22 inches. So that's 56 centimeter. Alright, 22 inches in height, 56 centimeter height. The width, I've got it from the edge of this base to that base.
That's it.
That's around about 17 inches, so that's 43 centimeters. And then the depth, which is from the front of the base to the back of the wing.
So let me just turn it like this, so the depth.
So the depth, okay? Front of the base to the back of the wing. I have that around about 22 inches as well.
Wow, okay, yeah.
56 centimeters.
So yeah, same, wow, okay.
And for the base alone itself, it's around about 17 by 17.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, 17 inches by 17 inches, so that's 43 centimeter by 43 centimeter. And the height of the base is around about 2 inches high, so that's 5 centimeters.
8-sided, by the way, guys, just for your reference. Counted those.
I should have measured the dragon on its own as well.
Well, we can do right now.
Yeah. Dragon on its own. Yeah, that's around about 20 inches because the base is 2 inches high.
There you go.
Yeah.
But the base is 2 inches high, but it kind of like it's kind of like really angled.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
All right, excellent. Okay, did you give the weight?
Oh, actually, the depth of the dragon on its own.
Oh,
without
yeah,
the base.
you're right.
Yeah, so that's around about 19 and a half, 20 inches. Yeah.
Mhm.
You guys, I'm sure you guys can do the math.
Trigonometry, baby.
Yeah. Right. The weight of the dragon itself, I've got it at 3.72 kg.
Okay.
And the weight of the base alone, it's 2 kg. So in total, it's around about 5.72 kg right now. All right. So this might vary depending on the materials and the final weight of the actual whole product. So
right.
just take that as a guide. 5.72. Right. That's it.
Yeah, why don't we actually show next to Spyro?
Yes.
So we have a better idea of what Spyro looks like next to. So
that's next question from Joshua. Joshua Wareham.
That's a good
How
point.
does this scale alongside Spyro?
You read my mind, Joshua. Right. Why don't we do that now? In 3, 2, 1. Boom! Check it out, guys. Obviously, we have Spyro the OG right there, and here it is, the Crystal Dragon right next to him. Of course, the first thing you're going to see, Chocks, is the enormous size of this base in comparison to Spyro's herself. And of course, that's all on the game. Hey, don't blame me, guys. It's all on the game, right? This massive base really is it's really wide in comparison to Spyro's himself. But come on, Chocks, let's be clear. This looks awesome next to each other. I mean, they really do. Now, of course, he is much, much smaller than in the actual game in comparison to Spyro, but you can see that they look great next to each other. And if we just sort of give it a bit of a turn, Chocks, so give that a bit of a turn. Maybe give that side view as well. There you go. You can sort of have a better idea of how that looks. The same plane is sort of more like that in terms of that, and a bit more of maybe which way? I don't even know why I bothered. So maybe a straight on shot, so we can
straight on.
See, yeah. Straight on shot for me. There you go. Now it's sort of the same sort of height level there. That's a sort of better idea. Now, of course, Spyro himself is way higher up in comparison to
The Crystal Dragon.
The Crystal Dragon in terms of the height, because he's got a much higher base. And yeah, you got an idea now of how they look together. And you know what, Chocks? I tell you, do you want to know what looked better than this setup?
What?
Spyro with 2 Crystal Dragons. How many is it? 80 or something that you got to get, right?
Right. Yeah.
If you're a true fan,
Yes.
you got to get rescue all the Crystal Dragons.
You're naming all of them as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So for sure, that is definitely what we were going for, and I think they look really great next to each other. I'm really happy with how they came out, and I think it really complements, the Crystal Dragon really will complement any of the, a Spyro collection for sure. Now, of course, this is the OG, he is the main character from it. And of course, if you have a Spyro Dragon collection, obviously with this piece as well, this next to it really helps that, I think, really helps that. So cool, Chocks. Now, let's just be clear about something, Chocks. This is the exclusive the regular version of the Crystal Dragon.
Yep.
And for those that follow us know, typically we release something other than the regular. And of course, that is the exclusive version, Chalk. So should we talk a little bit more about the exclusive then?
All right.
All right. So what we're going to do now, guys, is we're gonna remove Spyro first, and then we will come back and be showing you the exclusive version in 3, 2, 1. Boom! Check it out. Wait a second, Chalk. There's no difference. Did you? This is supposed to be the exclusive version. What? It's the same. Wait a second. Let me just give that a check again.
It has.
It's the same. Did you?
A different shade of green, perhaps?
No, I don't think that's it. Are you sure you got the right one?
Well, there's 80 different dragons, right?
Wait a sec. I think. Why don't we run a poll? F4F reward points up for grabs. Can you figure out what could the difference be? Have you spotted it?
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. But of course, Chocks. We have a new turntable here. Thankfully, it's pretty quick.
Very quick.
Because in case you didn't spot it, bada bing, bada boom. What do we have there, Chokes? We have a big red danger button. Of course, when you see a red danger button, what do you want to do? You want to push it, right?
Press it, yes.
What I would say, of course, Chokes, is we will be changing that color, so it won't be red because it's kind of like a bit of an eyesore. But what on earth is that all about? And of course, before we push that button, what are these two little things over here, Chokes? Can you? There's a little bit of a round and it's almost like it's like a missing. It's like a almost finished divide symbol. Just needs another dot at the bottom.
Okay, at the bottom. That is true. Well, basically, one of them is a LED indicator.
For what?
Because there's a USB port there where you can plug in and charge the internal removable rechargeable battery that will be in the base.
Why would you need removable internal battery?
Because as always with our exclusive, it's either comes with a switch out part or something LED related.
Oh! You've given the game away there, Chocks.
Yes.
I'll let you push that button in 3, 2, 1. Boom! Now, of course, guys, let's just say, bada bing, bada boom, studio lighting here. Let's get some overlays from the guys in a darkened room. You can get a better idea of what this looks like. Right now, you can see this base itself here, the top part lights up.
Yep.
Now, right now, this mode is the light is constantly on at a constant brightness. There's no change to it.
Yeah. It's an always on light.
But Chocks, if you want to hit it one more time.
The red button.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you can see it. Again, more overlays could be done over here. Can you see it, Chocks? What do you see?
It's pulsing.
It's sort of going in and out, quite
very quick. Yeah, very
quite
quick.
quick. Because it kind of is. Why do we do that, Chocks?
Why do we do that?
Yeah, because it's like in the game, right? Where it's kind of has that kind of like.
Kind of like in the dark, highlighting the statue.
Right, but when you get close to it, it kind of has that kind of sound effect that goes. And of course, there is no sound effects in this, and it doesn't rumble. But of course, it has that kind of visual, the way it looks like that.
Like
so
an indicator, come over here and rescue me.
Exactly. So definitely we wanted to add that for the exclusive. Now, of course, the measurements for all of this is exactly the same. The weight, I'm assuming, is it the same?
Might be some slight differences between the
and of course, ultimately, we need to have the production, the final model as
Yeah.
well, to get the final weight itself. But essentially, the exclusive comes with this really great feature here, which the light up is over here.
Yeah.
But we didn't want to just quite leave it at that, did we, Chocks?
I mean, with the LEDs itself in the dark, it will highlight those greens and those different shades of greens as well.
Absolutely.
Those highlights as well.
Yeah, and of course, again, right, you're absolutely right. Now, what I wanted to say, Chocks, of course, this isn't quite all for the exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
The exclusive comes with this beautiful, beautiful glow in the dark paint. So the entirety of it, actually, when you have the lights on it, really can show that. In fact, Chocks, why don't we try and do this right now? We're not in ideal conditions. So let's turn off all the lights and see if we can get that looking.
Let's get a nice angle, catch with the tail as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, during this documentary, all the light in the studio would have been
charging out that light as well.
Yeah.
So why don't we do that now, Jocks?
I hope this
And
works.
we'll be back. In 3, 2, 1. Boom! Now, unfortunately, it doesn't actually come up too well on the camera itself. But of course, you can actually see the brightness, the movement, and the effects of the base itself. Of course,
the pulsing lights.
Off completely, turn it on full mode, turn it on again with that pulsing mode, and with that, we're definitely going to have some overlays going on for the glow in the dark effect, which you can really see in real life. So with that said, let there be light in 3, 2, 1. Boom! Let there be light.
And we're back.
And we're back. So with those overlays for the glow in the dark, all that sort of stuff, so the exclusive, let's just go back over
Let's
again.
do a little recap, alright guys? So regular version is exactly what you see right here, obviously without the button on the back of the base. So the regular will be the base and the crystal dragon itself, all lovely standing right in the middle of the pedestal. The exclusive version is exactly the same, but it will come with this extra button, USB charger port, and the LED indicator with a removable rechargeable battery, which will light up the LED base, which comes in 2 different modes, an always on mode and a pulsing mode, and a glow in the dark paint job.
There you go.
Yeah, the full works.
There you go. But all I would say, Chalks, is we've almost completed it, but there's something else that we wanted to throw in.
Alright.
And the exclusive version comes with, in addition to all of that,
Alright.
don't talk to me or my son again. Have you ever seen that? Don't talk to me or my son again. It's like a big one and a small.
Yeah.
So here we go, guys. We have here a golden version, a mini-me of the Crystal Dragon, and there's a reason why we have this, and it's in gold, Charles.
Right.
Whenever you rescue a Crystal Dragon, there is an indicator in the actual HUD itself, right? Of course, in terms of how many you've rescued, and what comes out, of course, is a indicator, and of course, there it is.
It will be shown on top. If you play the game, it will be shown in the middle at the top of the screen. So every time you rescue a dragon, it spins around on the screen, and then you have how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., of these golden dragons.
These golden dragons, absolutely. So we wanted to have that as part of the exclusive, just to sort of give a bit of the understanding of people who play the game. They understand why they have a golden version of the Crystal Dragon.
Now I need to collect 80 of those.
Well, what you could do, of course, is buy the exclusive version. It comes with these, and you get a free one of these ones as well.
Just FYI, that is not made out of root gold.
That's right. What I would say is we haven't 100% decided on the final materials of this job, so we're going back and forth on what it will be, but at least you can have an idea of the size and the effect of what it's going to be like. And we haven't 100% got to that stage yet, but we're sort of going into that. But how cute. Me and my son, don't talk to me or my son again. Right there. Oh, Jesus. Look at that. Cute! I like that. Turn it more that way. So give that bit of a turn. So we didn't actually, how long did it take for us to come up with that? We knew quite quickly that we wanted to have a little something extra as well. And we really wanted to, we were thinking back and forth, and you know what, it really made sense to go all out for the Crystal Dragon.
Yeah.
For the exclusive, to have that little extra bit in there, which really makes sense. And again, it's like an added complement to any Spyro collection that you might have. So let's recap that one more time, Jocks.
Right, so yes, the regular version obviously will just come with the statue itself on its own, bare bones, and then the exclusive version will come with the LED light up base with 2 different modes. Pulsing and always on, and also comes with the full glow in the dark paint job, and then with this extra little mini golden dragon as well as part of the exclusive package.
What a great additional piece for the entire collection. For if you're a Spyro fan, I really hope that you guys agree that this is something that you want to have in your collection. It really complements that. And of course, why don't you even? We were semi-joking, kind of joking, about saying getting all 80 of them. But well, we did actually think that these would actually make fantastic bookends.
Yeah.
They would make fantastic additions that some people may actually want to get more than one because there are so many in the game.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we are going to be offering this as a combo, meaning you can get two together, exactly the same, two together.
Two exclusives.
Two exclusives together, exactly the same for a reduced price, Jocks. Just because we figure that some people may actually want to get more than one, because again, there are so many crystal dragons in the game, and did I say bookends? I'll say it again. Double bookends.
One in each room.
So you can touch it in the bedroom, touch it in the toilet, touch it
everywhere. And you can take these on trips, on holidays.
You know,
flash
you're
that
very
around
happy to
people think it's real gold.
Absolutely. But of course, Jocks, what I wanted to say, it's time for the shout outs.
Okay. Shout outs. Guys, so again, shout outs. Basically, that post I was talking about earlier on in the Collectors Club, every time we do a launch, there's going to be a post asking you guys what you want to ask us. In there, I will place a comment saying first 10 people to reply to that comment will get a shout out from Alex. So here we are.
Boom! Let's shout out to Brendan Freely. What's going on, mate? Shout out to Derek Baker. What's up? We have Richard Santiago in the house. How's it going? Dudley Stowe. What's going on, mate? Alex Hughes in the house. Yeah. Jake Mayo. What's going on? And Thomas Lane. How you doing, mate? We've got Femk Tavern. What's up? And last but not least, Brendan Rostello. Bada bing, bada boom. Did I miss Travis Souza? You thought I did, but no, he's back in there. Boom, done. Chocks, I believe we have one more question.
Alright, last but not least, Abraham Sanchez. What was the most challenging part for you guys?
I think it was pretty obvious that for me it was definitely going to be the paint scheme and how to go from a simple green color to something that was quite worthy of this sculpt, worthy of this franchise, worthy of this F4F treatment, and really worthy of something that we are willing to put our name to and produce and something like that. That was definitely the hardest part for me. Yes, it was difficult to come up with the actual sculpt itself, but the most challenging was actually making and doing that sculpt justice with the paintwork, because the paintwork is so complicated. So complicated. And for you, Chocks, what did you find was obviously you've been in the development at the same time. A lot of the times we've done development work and it's been on projects that may have started before you had joined, but this is something that you've been with us for the entire time, and you were very much involved with that as well. And what did you find that was the most challenging as well?
Well, like I said, they're just trying to, because always back in the day, PlayStation era, the polygons, it's trying to replicate that to 3D.
Right.
I think once we've had some experience with some previous projects, it's kind of like, that was pretty straightforward. But again, it's always trying to make sure the colors match at least as close as possible. Trying to get the same feeling from a 3D point of view. Right. And also coming up with some cool extra goodies.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Yeah, I
believe that was all you. The suggestion on that.
Make sure you buy the exclusive version, guys. Support that little mini golden dragon.
Well, how does it go next to Mini Chocks?
Yeah. For those guys that don't know who Mini Chocks is,
get in the club and you'll know. Absolutely. Alright, guys, so let's give that a pause there. Now, Chocks, there's one more thing.
Oh, one more thing. Measurements.
Yeah.
For the mini.
There you go.
Mini golden
dragon. That's what I was
going to say. Yes. Heard earlier. This is going to be new. The smallest item we've ever done. Right, so I've got the height around about 4 inches, so that's 10 centimeters. Right, the width from here, from the left side to the right side, including the tail.
Yeah.
I've got that about 1.5 inches wide, so that's 3 centimeters, and the depth, which is from the front tip of the nose to the back of the wing. That's again 4 inches, which is 10 centimeters in depth. Boom.
There's one more thing I wanted to say, Chocks.
Yeah.
We haven't really talked about the separations of this.
Okay.
And the first one is the wings are 2 separate pieces.
Yeah.
The other one is the tail as a separate
so
piece. You
that's
have the
3 pieces. Base
Now,
4 pieces.
the cheeks, I can't remember, are they separate as well?
Both sides should be separate right now
So
in this version.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces.
7.
Pretty straightforward sort of for assembly on that sort of stuff, I would say. So yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Yeah. Oh, Chocks. Before I forget, there was something that we also made. I'll show it to you guys. Forgot to mention.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Another challenging part.
Oh yeah. In let me see if I can show you in 3, 2, 1. Boom! Check it out, guys. Hit me with that name, Chocks.
Ooh, got bling bling. Crystallized edition.
There you go, guys. This is the crystallized edition of the Crystal Dragon. We can go through this pretty straightforwardly, Chocks. We have the whole idea of it being in this kind of semi-translucent color.
Yeah.
It's not completely
Not
translucent.
You can't see anything from behind it, but you can still see.
I can see the shadows, for
shadows,
sure.
yes.
You can definitely, maybe if you sort of did it.
Is it? Yeah, you can see the
Yeah, you can sort of
hand.
see, you can definitely see that going through. Now, the reason why we wanted to do that, Chocks, of course, is, and one of the things that Abraham Sanchez says what was quite challenging is, we had actually tried to, of course it makes sense when you consider that this obviously comes with the exclusive base as well.
Yeah.
And we can do some overlays on this, showing how the light transfers from the base going into the actual piece itself. Now, what we had actually tried is actually putting LEDs going directly into the body itself, and we did not feel that it would look good. And there's a couple of reasons. So when Abraham asked us what was the most challenging part, was actually to try and see if we could get that to look okay, and ultimately we weren't happy with the way it looked. There was a lot of individual dots, and the fact is you could only get it going, and what we wanted to do is, if you're going to do it, is to do all of it.
Do all of it.
And obviously you couldn't get it up into the thinness of these wings. So ultimately we didn't do that, right? So that was a bit of a challenge back and forth, and ultimately we were happy with this material being transparent and having that light transfer from the exclusive base going through into the, we have LEDs going in here. Now, of course, the LEDs were on the top of the surface of the base of the exclusive. There's no difference with that. The difference is, of course, with the fact that they are now shining upwards. There's LEDs here, but also LEDs that directly go underneath the feet as well, and it sort of shoots upwards. Now, of course, the same with the exclusive version. This has a glow-in-the-dark effect, which for this prototype they forgot to put on it. But it will come with glow-in-the-dark as well, so you can have a better idea of what it would look like with the exclusive version. You have a better idea and just see how that comes in.
Yeah, and it has that kind of same textured feeling as well as
it
before
does.
With the exclusive and regular. So it has that kind of, right now it kind of has that frosty looking feel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it also has, again, the same subtleties, but what we didn't do is paint it too strongly. You can definitely see it's going to be quite hard to see it up close, but you can definitely see the same idea of the lighters of the lighter on of the whiter and the shading, but the shading, the effect is not as strong. And of course there's a reason for that, Chocks. And the reason for that, of course, is if you paint it too much, you actually don't get that kind of frosty look to it and that kind of effect. Now, if you go through and you look at all these lines, they have these beautiful, especially if you see it from the side shots, you see all that shading going along all those lines as well. And the way that you can sort of see it with the horns as well, that translucentness to it as well, giving it a bit more of a kind of a crystal, kind of frosted kind of crystal look to it, Chocks. Then again, it's the same base as what we just saw, has that.
Yeah, we'll probably have some overlays of this in the dark.
I believe everybody would have done that at the beginning. If not, definitely. So like with the exclusive version, the crystallized edition also comes with mini
Golden Dragon.
Mini Golden Dragon, of course. So yeah, that's what we really wanted to show you guys. That comes with, this is the crystallized edition, and Choxy came up with that name. Very, very nice.
Yes.
There you go. And the height, the size, exactly the same.
Should be
Chox.
the same, yes.
In terms of the difficulty of making this, it's actually a little bit harder because it is translucent resin itself. So that's actually pretty difficult to do. And you know, definitely we had to pay a lot of time with actually the kind of the sort of shading and the hiding of the joint mechanisms in there, so to give that kind of frosted look to it. But ultimately, really happy that we're having this edition. Likewise, with the exclusives, we will be offering a combo version of the crystallized edition.
Indeed.
And this crystallized edition will come, you will be able to get a pair, and it will have a discount associated with that accordingly.
Yeah, so do let us know in the comments which version you like. The regular version, the exclusive version, or the crystallized version.
Absolutely. Which version will you be going for, Chox? Why not both?
I'm going for the mini golden.
Are you going to go for two?
I'm going for the mini golden dragons, and then I'm happy with whatever comes.
Absolutely. So, guys, that is pretty much it. Chox, is there anything that you want to add?
No. So basically, yeah. I mean, guys, do let us know in the Collectors Club as well, Facebook, or on the YouTube channel, and if you'd like to see any more upcoming Spyro the Dragon related products, do let us know. Yeah. Feedback.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Chox. I think that's another one wrapped up for the books.
All right.
All right. Alright, Chox, I believe that's pretty much it, but why don't we just take one more look and see them all together and have a better idea and bring back Spyro. We'll have the exclusive version, Spyro, and the crystallized all next to each other so people can get a better idea of what that might look like. So why don't we show that in 3, 2, 1, boom! Check it out, guys. Obviously now we have the two crystal dragons next to each other, of course with Spyro and mini crystal dragon down there in the middle. Of course, Chox, you have the exclusive version in front of you, and I in front of me have the crystallized dragon in front of me, and right, of course, here is mini dragon, of course, mini golden dragon, Spyro right at the back. Now this, again, as we said, you can imagine what it looks like to have two, of course these are two different versions. Probably it makes, for us, we believe it makes more sense for people to be buying two versions of the same because it's a bit more consistent with the game. And of course, does your crystal dragon look more like this or does it look more like that? You know, those are the choices that we're giving you guys as collectors for that. So yeah, Chox, that's pretty much wrapped up. Is there anything that you want to add before we go?
No, so basically, you know, please do join our First for Figures official collectors club for any future Spyro the Dragon products.
You know, is there anything that you suggest that we want, that you would like to see? Would you like to see Ripto? Would you like to see Nasty Knock? Would you like to see the Egg Thief? What would you like to see? We'd love to hear what you come back with, because of course your opinion and feedback does make a difference, because we wouldn't be sitting here, Chox, making this video if it didn't mean anything.
That's true, that.
Alright then, Chox, that's it. Alright. I'm your host Alex.
And I'm Chuckles.
F4F is love.
F4F is life.
And we'll see you in the next one. Peace!
Laters!